Hey folks, Paul Carlson from Safety Solutions Academy. I am so glad that you are here with me at the range today. It's a beautiful sunny day, and today we're going to talk about something that can help you to feel a little bit more at ease when it comes to taking a defensive firearms training course. Let's jump right in. Taking a defensive shooting course can be a little bit intimidating for folks, even if you're an experienced shooter and you've spent a lot of time training. And the reason is simple. Sometimes when you're walking into a situation and you don't know exactly what to expect, it can make you feel a little bit on edge. Now, the key to this is when you head to a training course, your goal is to learn. But if you start out on edge, that can make learning a little bit more difficult. Stress is not good for the learning environment. So today I want to give you some tips for what you can do to feel a little bit more comfortable as you ease yourself into a defensive training course. Doesn't matter if it's your first time or your fifth time, I think some of these tips might help you. First of all, before the course, make sure you are in communication with your instructor and or your host. Check those emails. Make sure you're reading them. And if you haven't received emails, reach out to the instructor or the host to make sure that you're getting the emails that you need to have. You see, a lot of instructors will send out communications before the event ever starts with important information like arrival times, meeting places, equipment lists, things that you should bring. You want to have all of those things put together well ahead of your course so that you are ready to go. Remember, you're investing in your course, and as a result, you want to get the most you can out of it, so listen to that instructor. If you're not seeing those emails, again, check your spam folder. Sometimes Google puts things where they don't really belong. If you can't find them there, reach out to your instructor or your host to make sure you have the information you need to be ready for your training course. Next tip is on arrival. When you get to that training course, plan to be a little bit early. You don't have to be a ton early, but give yourself an extra 15 or 20 minutes just in case you have a hard time navigating to the facility or finding the meeting place once you get there. Now, when you arrive on site, I suggest that you have your protective equipment ready to go, your ears and your eyes. You never know what part of the range you're going to arrive at or what's going to be happening elsewhere on the range, and you may need to have those eyes and ears handy and ready to go. It always makes sense to keep your eyes and your ears safe, so have that gear ready to go. Now, when you get to the meeting place, be ready to handle a little bit of paperwork and a little bit of meet and greet before you get started. Almost all defensive training courses require waivers to be signed, and sometimes they're required by the range as well. So get that pen ready, make sure you read through carefully, and get that information signed off as quickly as you can. Now, when it's time to settle into the location where you're going to be training, you're going to want to get all of your gear from your vehicle. You're going to want to pull out your shooting bag. You're going to want to make sure you have your magazines, your ammunition. Maybe you brought a chair so that you have a place to sit in, and I recommend either checking ahead or bringing something like seating to make sure you're comfortable throughout the day, because you never know what kind of amenities a range has. It's better to be prepared. It's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Now, once you get all your gear out of your vehicle, you're going to want to make sure you do one thing for sure. You're going to leave your firearm exactly where it is in your gear. Now, if you're like me, you're probably going to show up to a class wearing your defensive firearm. If you can legally carry your firearm concealed and you feel comfortable in doing so, that's how I recommend you show up to class. Now, maybe you're newer to shooting and carrying concealed isn't a possibility, either legally or from a comfort standpoint. Well, then your firearm might be in your bag. It needs to stay there. You are not going to handle your firearm until you're instructed to do so by your instructor. Let me say that again. You're not going to handle your firearm until you're told to do so by your instructor. So regardless of where your firearm is, if you're carrying it concealed, if you've got it inside some kind of a bag, or maybe you have it inside a box, it's going to stay there until you're instructed to handle your firearm by your instructor. This is important from a safety standpoint. What you don't want to have happen is have someone get injured or be asked to leave a class before it even starts. So don't handle your firearms until you're instructed to do so by your instructor. Is it okay to load magazines? It probably is. You can handle ammunition, you can handle magazines, you can do all those kinds of administrative things. Make sure you have everything ready to go. You can do those things as you're getting ready for class. But the one thing you don't want to do is handle your firearm until you're instructed to do so. Now, when you attend a firearms training course with Safety Solutions Academy, there are 3 concepts that I'm going to address with you before we really even get class started. And those 3 concepts are safety, comfort, and competence. Now, these apply specifically to Safety Solutions Academy courses, but they may very well apply. In fact, I'll say they do apply to just about all of the courses that you'll take. Let's start out with safety. I view safety as a big concept. The concept is pretty straightforward and simple. You have to be asking yourself all the time, do the benefits of what I'm about to do significantly outweigh the risks that are involved? Now, when it comes to training with firearms, you have to know and understand responsible gun handling skills. You need to follow those rules of responsible gun handling throughout your course. What it really comes down to, however, is that you're counting on your instructor to be a solid decision maker, and they should constantly be looking at the idea of, do the benefits of what we're about to do significantly outweigh the risks? Understand that you are responsible for yourself. And if you find yourself wondering, gosh, is this really worth it? Is this safe? What you need to make sure you do is you need to make sure that you speak up. You may have missed an important instruction. Your instructor may have explained something in a way that you don't understand. And clarifying that situation can help you to feel comfortable with what's about to happen. Now, at the same time, you may determine that the benefits of what you're about to do aren't worth the risks. At that time, you need to be ready and willing to step aside. You see, if you're feeling uncomfortable about an activity and you have a live firearm in your hand, that can be a safety risk in and of itself. So be prepared ahead of time when you come to a class to know and understand what your limits are. Should those limits expand and contract depending on the situation? Of course they should. And you need to make solid decisions with regards to that. But never forget that safety is a concept that you need to be following. And remember, that concept is, are the benefits of what I'm about to do going to significantly outweigh the risks? Comfort is the second thing I like to talk to my students about. And it doesn't really have to do with, the air temperature or, is the footing comfortable for me? It really has to do with comfort as a learner. I want my students to understand why it is that I'm teaching what it is that I'm teaching. And that requires a level of comfort that some people really are uncomfortable with. So I want you to prepare for that ahead of time. What do I mean by comfort? Why does this questioning of why require comfort? Quality instruction is more than just a teacher showing up at the range and telling you what to do. It requires a back and forth dialogue between the teacher and the student so that there can be a depth of understanding that helps to transform you into a better version of yourself. You see, that's the point of learning, right? Is to become better. A quality relationship with your instructor and an ability to have a dialogue back and forth is important. When you're in class, you should expect your instructor to tell you why it is that things are happening. And they should back that up with statistics. They should back it up with scientific fact. They should back it up with quality theory. They should use logic to help and justify why it is that they're teaching you what they're teaching. And when that justification falls a little bit short, it's your responsibility as a student to engage with the instructor and to dig deeper to understand. Again, the purpose isn't for me to tell you what it is that you should be doing. The actual purpose is for you to understand and use that to make a transformation to be a better version of yourself. The third concept that I'd like to jump into is competence. I'm a firm believer that some folks don't attend defensive firearms training courses because they don't feel like they're good enough. Well, isn't the point of coming to a defensive firearms training course to get better? You have to start somewhere. In fact, we all started at the same place, not knowing and understanding anything about firearms. And it was up to us to seek out proper instruction to get to the level that we're at now. Now, as an instructor, I really don't care what level you're at. The point of you coming to defensive firearms training is to get better. So if you're way down here and you know virtually nothing about defensive firearms, great. Come on to class and let's help you get started. And if you've been shooting for a long time, you're way up here, awesome. I'd love to have you. I'm certain that I can teach you some things that'll help you in your training. Now, some folks worry about if I'm here and what's this guy up here going to think? Who cares? If you're this guy down here, unless you're planning on leaving class and having a gunfight with the guy that's way up here, the relationship between you and him is virtually irrelevant. What I want you to focus on in class is you. Whether you're at the bottom or you're at the top or someplace in the middle of class, your goal is to move from where you're at to someplace higher. Want to progress as far as we can, as quickly as we can, certainly, but don't worry about the other folks in class. Instead, focus on where you're at right now and make sure that you're doing what it is you need to do to progress. My job as the instructor is to give you the opportunities and experiences so that you can grow. It's up to you to decide what you do with those opportunities and experiences. The more you put into class, the more you are going to get out. I guarantee it. Now, folks, these were just a few tips to help you feel more comfortable at class and 3 concepts that can help you to make sure you progress as much as you can when you enter into defensive firearms training. Now, the crux of this is up to you. You've got to make the decision to actually sign up for a class, then prepare for that class, and then show up at class with an open mind ready to learn. Most importantly, get on out there, get yourself some training. When you do, make sure you keep it simple. Please stay safe, and as always, have a great day.